Hello and welcome back to AutoKnerd. Over the past 10 weeks, I've been writing a lot about trust and what it takes to build trust up. As I've been writing this stuff, I've come up with a bit of an equation, and I'll talk about that in just a moment here. But the trust equation is an actionable item. It's something that we can build into our lives. It's something that if we use it on the daily, not only with customers, but just simply in our lives, we can have stronger relationships with pretty much everybody around us. But trying to explain it to the average person in the car sales industry is tough. And the reason is that many people, when it comes down to the word rapport or trust or friendship or relationship, simply mean that it's transactional. Whereas you, who have taken the time and put in the effort to really learn about this stuff, have come to the conclusion that when it comes down to trust and when it comes down to building relationships, we're not in it for one deal. We're in it for three, four, five, a whole family of deals in the future. This business gives you exactly what you put into it, which is one of the reasons that I love the car business so much. It's one of those really bizarre industries that if I feel like going to work and working every single minute of my life to the bone, I can go ahead and I can do very well. Now, of course, there's people in this business that have worked, and they haven't had much success. And I do feel terribly for them, but this business is very unforgiving. But try to explain the trust equation to somebody that has been in this business bruised and battered forever, that has just heard the same thing over and over again about buyers being liars and how how you shouldn't trust people and how using your inspiration and imagination is just something that you shouldn't do. When humans come in and they want to buy vehicles, they want to buy them from other humans. That or the Tesla bot or whatever robot is going to become very popular very quickly. So keep this in mind is that our job is not too terribly different in many ways to being something that can be well programmed. And it's very disheartening thinking about it in that way. But when a customer cannot come in and trust a sales consultant in general, well, many dealerships have been looking down the direction of things like automated kiosk and have an AI do this sort of thing. Well, many of us know that AI is still in its infancy, but it does what it can, but it's not a slice of perfection yet. So people don't entirely trust it, but someday we'll see, but hopefully it won't replace any of our jobs. But, anyways, welcome to the car business. It is what it is. Today is episode 55. We've made it to the golden anniversary of this nerdy little automotive show. And today we're going to be cracking the code on one thing that your CRM simply just can't automate. It can measure, it can't pretty much do anything with, and that's trust. And the reason is it's a robot and it can't do that. I remember my first years in the business and selling cars and not spinning wrenches or doing anything else. But one of my first years or the first months in the business or weeks, those were the ones that if I was to grade my stressful days in the car business, those ones would obviously be on the lower end. And the reason that they were on the lower end wasn't just because I was new in the business and didn't have all the things to stress me out and I didn't know that much. Really, it came down to the fact that if I didn't know the process and I didn't have the ability to understand how to work with people, well, I have to work with them the only way I know how, and that's be friendly and establish a solid relationship. And this is one of those times that I think back on pretty fondly is if I was to start over again, what would I do differently? And this is where this trust equation kind of was drummed up. Really just is easy. Empathy plus trust equals a sale. It's that easy. So a few years ago, I watched this green pea hit the showroom floor, and he reminded me a lot of myself when I started in the business. Other than people to Patrick basically on his first day, and it took me a while to even conceive of that thought. But as I'm watching this guy work the showroom floor, I realized pretty quickly that he didn't know anything. He didn't know jack about the cars. It was actually kind of funny how absurdly bad his walkarounds were. And I even got with his manager and was like, dude, what are you teaching this guy? This is a joke. And his manager goes, hold on, Andy, just watch. And his manager was a former sales consultant of mine as well. And I'm like, all right, I'll watch. And so there's clearly something he wanted me to pay attention to. And all of a sudden, I noticed that It was not about the product, and it never is about the product. But the sales consultant, he was selling one thing, and it wasn't the car. He was selling the fact that you could feel safe around it. Now, he leveraged the fact that every single sales consultant that's out there is not, well, trustworthy. So let's look at some stats here. If empathy plus trust equals a sale, how much of the deck is actually tilted in our favor if we choose to separate ourselves from the pack? If we choose to separate for us ourselves from the people that are like buyers are liars. I swear I hate that statement. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Every single person that walks through the front door is a different person. They have different things that they want, and they don't lie to us all the time, right? So we can't go ahead and carry that flag. And if you put that flag down and you let that off your back, if you put down the grind of the stress that comes along with it, and you simply refocus a little bit and take on this whole empathy plus trust equals sold equation. So let's hit the stats real quick because this stuff matters. And if you choose to let yourself walk away from the pack and become your own freestanding consultant, essentially, then yeah, look what you're breaking apart from. Check this out. 76% of Americans don't trust dealerships to be honest about pricing. That's that's it's terrible. 76% of people have just gone up and said, you know what, working with one price brands, dealers, dealer bodies, what have you, is just fine because working with a sales consultant is so much more difficult. Cool, cool. I like that statistic simply because if I know what people hate about those individuals, then I can just back myself out a little bit. All right, here's the next one. 95% of customers stay loyal to brands they trust. Now, the brand that they trust isn't necessarily the car brand. It's not the dealership. It's you. 95% of customers are loyal to you. This is one of those areas that I hope my mother's listening is that when I work strictly with particular brands, what tends to happen is my mother still goes out and buys a Toyota. And it doesn't matter. I could be doing Toyota work. I could be doing Honda work. I could be doing Kia work. It doesn't matter. And she still goes out and she buys that brand. And the reason is because she's sold not on the Toyota brand, she is sold on the sales consultant that she buys it from. And the reason for this is that he separated himself out from the 76% of the dealerships that people don't want to talk to. Now, check this out 61% recommend brands they believe in. Holy smokes. Are you serious? So something I've been finding myself saying an awful lot lately is that if you walk into a dealership and the consultant or manager, whoever, instantly gives you a stupid discount on the car, just absolutely ridiculous discount on the vehicle, and you buy it. But the people are just super jerks. You don't want to deal with them ever again. If once you left the dealership, you will be happy to get the survey and give them 1 star kind of people. In that particular situation, 95% of customers stay loyal to the brands they trust. Now, we could go ahead and sugarcoat that and say, hey, OEMs and 95% of your customers stay with you as long as they trust you. Um, no, that's not what the statistic means here. Actually, the statistic itself states that you are your own brand. And being your own brand means that you have to own it. And if you're not owning who you are and you don't have a backbone when you hit that showroom floor, customer's not going to trust you. Having confidence is a big thing that rolls into this. Now check this one out. 61% of people will recommend the brands that they believe in. Now we do this all the time when it comes to your shoes, your glasses, your cars, whatever it might be. If you like it, you go ahead and you put it out there to your friends and family. If you like it, you simply go ahead and you recommend it. Now, something that I've been saying an awful lot that just seems to be my mantra as of late is a cute little example is that, hey, you know what? If I go ahead and I give you an absolutely stupid discount on a car, right? You come into me and I give you, let's say, $10,000 off, whatever it might be. And you feel that you got a absolutely stupid deal on the car. You just could not pass it up. But everybody in the dealership, including myself, were just jerks to you. I would not ever think in my wildest dreams that you would go ahead and send somebody to me. Actually, I would think that you'd receive the survey and burn me on it. But people do not send people back simply due to monetary bonuses. If you have a job and let's say you're at your dealership and you're already not liking that much, and they send you a big fat spiff, it's not going to make you stay. If the people are pure jerks, you're not going to want to be around them. So now you're going to go ahead, you're going to go somewhere else, or you're going to find somewhere that you actually enjoy being, even if it costs less. You see, the golden rule of business is that we do business with people we know, we like, and we trust. Well, if 76% of dealerships aren't liked and 95% of customers stay loyal to the brand that they believe in, and the brand is actually you, well, here's a nail in the coffin. Sales reps with higher empathy outperform low EQ reps by 15%. Wait, hold on. 15%? It doesn't sound like much. No, I have an absolutely stupidly high statistic. I'm going to give you in just a moment here. And I still am trying to wrap my brain around it. But that little 15% means that your actual closing ratio sees a real life 15% bump if you simply just change yourself and commit to being different, commit to being a human, commit to being, I dare say, friendly and approachable. All of a sudden, you'll have people start to come on in, sit down in front of you, and be far more likely to buy a car. So let's stop selling features and start building on feelings, start building on relationships, and start seeing ourselves through the eyes of the customer. Here's the math your desking tool doesn't show you. Actually, trying to put this out and have a computer, even the current renditions of AI put this out are impossible. And this is the part that they're all missing is that empathy is the spark. Empathy is that little bit of inspiration, whereas trust is going to be the fuel. The customer, they're going to be the ignition key here. So, when it comes to empathy, empathy means that listening, caring, asking a lot of questions, smart questions along the way, and those why questions. And watch also because there is going to be a tool drop here really soon about why questions and how to ask them in ways that don't offend people. Thank you for the person that reached out for me on that. But empathy means, again, that you are willing to look at the world through the customer's lens. Whereas with trust, it's simply following through. And that's admitting what you don't know and then showing up to deliver the answers, showing up at delivery to deliver the smiles, the showing up to show the customer a vehicle so they don't feel the need to have to negotiate to build up that value. So if you want to be in the top of the sales board, it's not tough. You just need to start at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid. You got to have safety, you got to have belonging, and you got to have respect. And you're going to walk right up that pyramid without much of a problem, be up at the top of it. Because when somebody sees that you care and that you are listening and that they are being heard, they're more willing to put themselves out there and start to trust you. When they start to trust you and then you prove that you are actually listening to them, now they know that they feel safe and now they know that they're going in the right direction and they can buy a car and know that they're going to be happy with it in the end. I really sat down for a couple minutes and I'm not a huge fan of scripting, but there are some times where I'm like, I need to give some food for thought here. And so here's three one liners that can help you just get trust kicked off. Because occasionally we do need that little saying to help us around. Hey, just so I'm clear, what's most important to you on your next vehicle? It sounds completely normal. We would have that. But usually we're asking the customer, hey, what do you want in your next car? And they're telling us all these things that they want. Next thing you know, we're getting the $90,000 vehicle when the customer is really in $30,000 money. And so by going ahead and changing the wording a little bit here, what's most important to you? I want the top five things. What are the top seven things? Because all I want to do is sell you seven things in the car. I don't want to sell you the whole car. I want to sell you the things that motivate you. So what are those? And then figure out how those all connect. And maybe if you can dig up like a hot button and figure out why that hot button is created from those, you're going to have much higher success. And then mid conversation, and obviously, don't interrupt the customer here, but let me walk you through what I know and I'll flag anything I may not. So if you have questions along the way, I'm going to get those answers back to you. Again, this shows the customer, hey, I care about these 5 to 7 things that I'm going over. And if you have questions about them and I don't know something because maybe you took my advice a bit too seriously and you just didn't learn anything about the car, not a good idea. But If that's the case and you don't know about it, start jotting those questions down. This is one of those reasons I tell people always keep a little notepad in your back pocket where you can just start penciling things down. It's a huge help. And it lets the customer know that, hey, I'm paying attention. I'm going to get back to this. This is where what I refer to for my notes. And then another one for maybe after delivery, because trust is an extension. It's something that always needs to be worked on. Would it be okay if I checked in you tomorrow to make sure that everything made sense to you? Again, this lets the customer know I'm not going to let you fall. Even though this vehicle that you're getting is a damn near space shuttle compared to what you had last, I'm not going to let you fall flat here. I'm going to take care of you. We're going to move further forward together. And if I need to do a redelivery, I'll do a redelivery. But in this business, you do not need a silver tongue. You just need to be able to show humans that you're still actually a human and you're not that mindless person that was put into a position simply to fill the role of being able to retail a few cars here and there. No, that's not what we do. We're people that build these relationships for the goal of getting that individual to have us be the person that they rely on. And once we are the individual that they rely on, now this is a career. Now this isn't just a pit stop to find another job. This is something that you can love. Again, if you look at those individuals that are selling the 20 to 40 cars a month that are not ever getting up, though I'm talking about those old timers that have just been sitting in that chair for 35 some odd years, the reason that they're not getting up is because they have relationships with those people that they've fostered over time and they've tried to make them as good as possible. But realistically, it all starts with a spark. Replying to a lead within 1 minute, you're 391% more likely to close that customer down compared to somebody that waits 5, 10, 20 minutes. As time progresses, that number quickly starts to drop. Now, the average person usually looks for somebody to hit them back about 5 minutes or so, but within 1 minute, with a personal response, not a robot going ahead and saying, hey, we'll email you back in 20 minutes. I got one of those the other day for a deal that I'm trying to work. And they still haven't called me. It's like, don't tell me you're trying to get somebody to me and you never actually do. It makes me not want to work with you. So I guess that's where the 391% comes on in. But when I read through that survey, my jaw hit the floor because it made total sense. Is that people want to hit submit and carry that conversation right from that point. In a world where everybody seems to experience some form of mild ADHD, when you hit that submit button, you are on to the next thought. You are on to the next car. You've partially forgotten or completely forgotten within the next 10 seconds that you submitted that inquiry to that particular store. So we have to get on this. It's not something that we can just simply say, no, we're going to kick that one down the road. So hit those customers up pretty quickly. Now, consultants who talk less than 45% of the time have higher win ratios. Now, these wins or closing rate, it's true. I've been in the position of being the resident know it all at a store and knowing absolutely everything about every car that's there. I love automobiles. So when I was on the showroom floor, I was a bit of a know it all. And I'm sure the people that I talk to, if they are listening to this, they're laughing right now because it's the truth. Is if you had a question about the product, I had no problem going ahead and answering it. But the problem with this is that I would talk all the time. Somebody would and ask me a question about the engine, I would tell them how the engine was built and the torque specs on it. You can't go that far. If somebody asks a question, they're looking for something easy. They're not looking for you to monologue. But built into every single human being is the ability for them to trust simply based on their ability to speak to you. That's a very odd thing is if I could go ahead and get somebody speaking, all of a sudden trust is being built. And so every single human being that walks this planet, that's the behavior. And so if you sit down at a bar and you want to go ahead and crack up a conversation with the person next to you, get them talking about themselves. It's not that difficult. You see people doing this all the time. Many of us will go ahead and sit down at a bar and the person next to us will start talking to us and we're just like, dude, stop. It's just so annoying. But the funny part about that is that when you connect with that individual and you can get them talking about things that you're actually interested in or things that interest them rather, then all of a sudden they start to trust you, even if you don't like that particular topic. But 1 in 3 customers leave forever after one bad experience. There's just no getting them back. So if I don't respond to an email that has an absolutely ridiculously high closing rate with an actual human responding, not a computer, my closing rates go up. If I go ahead and I make sure that I'm talking less, my rule of thumb on this was so you had the 80-20 rule, 80% listen, 20% talk. And then I lived and died by a different one that was 90% of the conversation had to be about the customer, only 10% about me. And if it was about the product, 85% of the conversation was going to be centered around the customer's life, only 15% on the product. The reason is the product doesn't matter as much as we think it does. So, with these, take the statistics to heart because the way that we treat individuals is though they're cattle that are there to go ahead and give us a paycheck. What would your surveys look like if you did genuinely care? If you genuinely wanted to spend time with the customer, if you wanted to go ahead and make it fun day in and day out, by blowing people off, this gets them to just say, hey, you know what? The screw you, I'm out of here. But by going ahead and accepting them for who they are, accepting them for the conversation, and getting them to speak, even if it doesn't matter about the deal, but it is just simply there to build trust, gets people to buy you and no longer negotiate. They just simply buy. It's amazing what happens when people are motivated and know that they're in a safe space. But every guest that you bump into is a test. You have to pass this with kindness. Kindness is the biggest razor that we have to take down anxiety, to take down somebody's stress, to make them feel comfortable, to make them trust us. And so lead with kindness every single day. I know for some people that when it comes to kindness, we've been damaged a lot in this business by having customers who are just complete jackasses walking through the front door, by having some people that come in and just terrorize us for no good reason. No dealership is perfect and no society is perfect. These people just exist. But by leading with kindness, all of a sudden you'll find that these people that seem to just be tire kickers can still buy. And that's really where the fun motivating part comes in. And in the movie Suckers, actually, this was covered a little bit. And the manager walks up to a customer that's in a car and says, I don't need to ask my wife permission to buy a car. And the guy backs up a little bit and was like, what? Yeah, how can you say that to me? Even though the manager was kind of a scumbag. People are motivated. They will walk into a dealership when they feel that, hey, I kind of want to do something here. I kind of want to buy a car. I kind of want to check it out. If they're motivated enough and you've built that relationship with them, they'll go talk to their significant other, their spouse, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, whatever it might be, their parent, and they may or may not be back. But if you simply go ahead and look at them and they just say, I'm just looking, and you don't lead with something that shows that you're a genuine human being, it's gone. You see, empathy is free and trust is earned. And consultants who master both of these things, they don't just win, they lead. And not just lead the showroom floor, people follow in their footsteps. You don't follow assholes. You just don't. If somebody's a jerk, you simply avoid them. If somebody's kind and caring and you can't and they listen to you, all of a sudden you follow them. Kind of a weird thing. Because people buy from people they believe in, right? Not the smoothest, not the fastest, but they buy from the most real. The people, again, they can have that connection with and know that, hey, I could put these stories in your ear and you're going to be able to utilize them to make sure that I'm going to be okay. People want to connect with actual humans. This is something that as society goes on, as we have a whole generation that grew up with just TikTok, as we have a generation who don't trust the generation that grew up on TikTok, even though we have generational gaps that put us against each other and at war, it doesn't mean that we can't be kind. And it doesn't mean that we can't see the world through somebody else's eyes, even if they're so incredibly different from us and from a completely different walk of life. You see, episode 50 here isn't just about bumping up the trust tree a little bit. It's about looking to the top of top of the whole tree from 50,000 feet and going, what the hell built this thing? And if trust is built off of us understanding what the customer is going through, if trust is built from us being kind and having empathy, That means that this is a pretty damn good reason for us to believe that we can do our jobs better and we can be a better version of the car business for the person that's sitting in front of us. We can be that person that the customer goes, "Oh, yes, I will return to this person over and over again to buy these cars." Let me remind you of something. There's a lot of people out there that hate the doctor because of needles. There's a lot of people out there that hate the dentist because the drill sounds. There's a lot of people out there that simply hate going and taking care of themselves, even though they know they're going to feel better in the end. When it comes down to a car sales consultant, we're no different. We're a representative that's there to make the tough process easy. And when that tough process has become easy, again, when the kindness is there, when the empathy is there, the trust is built and people want to be around. So if this hit home, share it with your team in your meeting this morning if you're a manager or if you're a sales consultant wanting to just kind of show off a little bit. Go ahead, take some notes from this, stand up there and go, gang, this is what we have to do. And believe me when I tell you, this messaging, when it's done in front of a group of people, makes you look like a total badass. It's awesome. You look more responsible. And then when you perform it, it looks like magic. And all of a sudden, people start to pay attention to the person that is putting big marks on the board and also carrying a profit. Kind of a weird combination there, isn't it? So again, if it hits home, write it up, put something together, share it with your team, subscribe to the podcast. Also, if you didn't know and you've been listening to me for a while, AutoKnerd.com now has what is called the AutoKnerd Dispatch. Just go over there, type in AutoKnerd.com, AutoKnerd, into your browser, and it's also in the show notes too, so you can just go ahead and tap that, and you will head right on over to my webpage where you'll see all the podcasts. You'll also see the Saturday Dispatch. Now, Saturday Dispatch being a positive Saturday newsletter to help you get your head in the right place. Now, I don't just include some positive, inspirational stuff for Saturday. I talk about a little bit about this week's podcast, go in depth on that. Next week's podcast, we talk a little bit about that. And then in addition, I also throw on in there my little fun automotive nerdy history bit. I love automotive history. So always something fun and funky and different that I may have found over the past week. And I get some information from some of you when you reply as to, hey, dude, make a tweak here, make a tweak there. Or maybe you reach out to me with, I have a couple questions about a past podcast. Can you please explain further? And I'm very receptive. I try to help as much as I can. And that is all for this week. Auto Nerd out. I will see you next Thursday.